the October 13th York County Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. The first item on the agenda is the meeting minutes from last month, actually from August 11th. Has everybody had a chance to review them, and does anybody have a comment?
I move to approve minutes.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Minutes are approved. Okay, no old business, so we'll move on to new business. Case number Z22-13V. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Irene Cherry with York County Zoning. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Case number Z22-13V. The applicant is Tony Smith. Property location is 2942 Hart Road. Tax map number 255-00000049. The zoning is agricultural conservation. And the variance is a reduction of 36 feet from the required 100-foot front setback. This is the vicinity map. It shows the Hartness Estates subdivision, and you can see the lot that we're speaking about is near the end of the cul-de-sac. It's approximately 5 acres. This is the zoning map, and again, you'll see the majority of the area is zoned agricultural conservation. And that lot is near the end of that cul-de-sac, which is a dead end. This shows the existing mobile home. It's about 1,100 square feet. It's about 300 feet from the front property line.
Yeah, can you go back, please? Okay.
It's in the lower left-hand corner.
So
It's on the bottom.
So
right.
the main road is that one
This is
that's at the
the
very
point.
top? Okay.
Go to the next slide. This is the proposed approximate location of the existing septic tank, drain field for the septic system, and the approximate location of the proposed home, which is roughly 63 feet from the edge of the right-of-way.
Is the existing home behind all that, hidden by the trees?
I'm sorry, can't hear you.
Is it hidden by the trees? Is the existing home hidden by the trees back behind that?
Is the existing home, it's right there.
Yeah, but is it hidden by, that's okay, go ahead.
Yeah, if you, I think you can see it.
Yeah, it's,
You can barely
if
see
you
it.
want to go to the next slide, yeah, it
You can
is,
barely
it is
see it in the
behind.
trees.
You see how the
Yeah.
driveway
It's all the way
curves
back
up?
Behind at the end of that
Okay,
driveway.
I was just making
Right,
sure.
so if you go back to the one she just had up, where the driveway ends back there,
This one?
that's the house you see at the very bottom.
Right.
Down there.
And that road
Bottom
frontage
left.
is Hart Road.
So we're looking at it from behind here. The other slide, you're out at the road looking at
Correct.
the front of the lot.
Correct. And this is the frontage of Hart Road, just to show you where the mobile home is proposed to be placed. Any other questions before I move on? No? The zoning code 155-1080. The Board of Zoning Appeals may issue a variance when strict application of the provision of this chapter would result in unnecessary hardship. A variance may be granted if the board makes and explains in writing the following findings. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. A second home is permitted in the AGC zone district, and at one point there was a second home. The septic system for the second home has been inspected and is usable at its current location. Locating the home in the same location also preserves existing trees, and therefore the staff finds the proposed variance does meet this criteria. These conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. The surrounding lots are also wooded. Most of the lots on Hart Road do not contain a second home and have retained more trees. And as such, staff finds the proposed variance does meet this criteria. Because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unnecessarily restrict the utilization of the property. Meeting the 100-foot setback would place the home on top of the existing drain field, and existing trees would have to be removed. Therefore, staff finds that the proposed variance for 36-foot reduction from the front setback does meet this criteria. Any questions? No? The last item is the authorization of a variance would not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by granting of the variance. The subdivision was originally platted with a 50-foot setback, and other homes in the subdivision either meet or exceed that 50-foot setback. As such, granting of the variance would not be a substantial detriment to the adjacent property nor the public good. Therefore, staff finds the variance does meet this criteria. Staff recommendation is approval, as we find that this particular variance does meet all 4 findings, and it would allow them to use an existing resource that is on the property.
So prior to the recode update in March, it was a 50-foot setback, correct?
I'm sorry?
So prior to the recode in March of this
Correct.
year, it was a 50-foot.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken, that might explain why it looks like the house and the lot next door would be similar distance from the road if at that time it was a 50-foot setback. 'Cause
Correct.
I did notice that the lot next door, the existing home, appeared to be
It's-
right about where
it's
this
way back.
proposed one would be.
Right.
Okay.
And this is the proposed location.
Give or take a few feet, but yeah.
So are you aware, and maybe this is a question for the applicant, the residents of this second property, are they family? Oh, I'll ask, okay. I'll ask the applicant.
I'm sorry, you want to talk to the applicant?
Well,
Well, let's wait till she, do we have any more questions for staff?
I have a question about the public feedback. It says that you had one phone call inquiring about the specifics of the request and informed staff that there were recorded covenants. Now, do you know what those covenants are? And
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. On the public feedback, it says staff received one phone call requiring.
And she told me that she would come, she was in a property package directly across the street. And she said that she was gonna come this evening, but she's not here.
Well, she said
And
that.
she called because she received a postcard.
Okay, but it said there were recorded covenants. What were
No,
those?
she's wanted to let me know that there were deed restrictions, and I told her to bring them with her. She would like to come.
Oh, okay. Was she against it or for it, or did she say?
No, she did not say.
Oh,
Just, I think, more curious to know what they were doing.
okay. Okay,
Any other question?
I don't believe so. Would the applicant like to come forward? Please state your name, address.
Hey, I'm Laura Beth Smith, and address 4249 Sharon Road in Sharon, South Carolina, 29742. I'm speaking on the behalf of Smith Land and Cattle, which owns this property, and my husband, Tony Smith. I think everything's basically been covered, but a brief history. We bought this property from my father-in-law, and the home in the back, it is a rental property. The home that will be placed, hopefully, in the front of the property will also be a rental property. And I think you had a question about family. They're not family to us or
Okay.
family to one another.
Okay, okay.
But we do try to keep our places neat, tidy, clean. And our biggest thing was in like 99 or 2000, there was an existing home where the red rectangle is. And it would be a much bigger disturbance to the property to move it back into that 100-foot setback. We'd have to have a whole new septic tank, drain fields, everything, knock down a bunch of trees. Because when you're actually out there standing, looking at where that red triangle is, it's much more wooded and underbrush than you can kind of tell from that picture. So we want to put another one, a newer model, basically a brand new home, exactly where that existing home used to be. And so we just feel like it would be a less invasive way to go. But other than that, any questions? I think the other landowner, when she spoke to my husband, she did end up getting in touch with him. She was afraid that they were going to put like 5, or we were going to put 5 homes there. I think she just assumed we were moving in a bunch of different homes. I don't think she quite knew what we were trying to do with the layout.
So when you bought it, were there 2 rentals there?
There was one.
Just the one,
The home
okay.
that was where the red rectangle is was there from 99 to 2000 and then
Okay.
moved off the property. And it
Gotcha.
was probably an older home
Yeah.
that was beyond repair.
Okay,
The one that sits in the back was also an older home, but we've completely gutted it, renovated it. It's got a new tenant in it.
okay,
But it's shaded from the road view, so the only home you'd see from Hart Road is where that proposed home site is.
okay, thanks.
And you all plan to use the present septic system for the new home?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
save money.
Any further questions?
None for me.
Thank you. So that closes the
You have
Public.
any other questions for staff?
oh,
I don't know.
no, I believe we were. We're ready, so we're going to close the public comment and open it for a motion.
I will make a motion to approve.
Have a second? Okay,
I think pretty much what staff had stated, it just makes sense to keep it at the setback it's already was at, because you don't have to, no tree removal, no change in the septic system, and it's already been inspected and it's ready to go. I just think originally it was a 50-foot setback as of March of this year, and all the neighbors, are kind of along that same property setback, so it aesthetically looks good from the road, and I just think if you pushed it back, then you have less separation between that and the other rental, and then you're going into the trees, and I just think that since it's two different families and two different rentals, you probably want to keep as much separation in between for their privacy and everything, so it just makes sense to keep it at the current setback.
Okay. I would agree. I mean, by right, they can put two units, two dwellings on the property. The 30 or 35 feet that we're looking for, 36 feet that we're looking for, I do not believe poses a detriment given the adjacent properties, and I believe it's actually probably a better solution all around, given the trees and the existing septic. So I'm in agreement with you on that, Barbara. Anybody else?
I don't think there's much else to deliberate or debate.
So, all right, so all in favor of the motion to approve, raise your right hand. Okay. We do not have any other items on the agenda. Do I hear a motion to
I
adjourn?
move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?